the rap devil, come a bare face with a black shovel.
Diss tracks have been a popular commodity since the beginning of hip-hop's creation. Some of the most iconic rap songs have been diss tracks targeted at other artists, from Pac's Hit 'Em Up, Ice Cube's No Vaseline, to Drake's Back-to-Back record. Not only do diss tracks perform well commercially, but it also breathes new life into the genre. Recently, the drama between Kendrick, Cole, and Drake has represented this phenomenon well, with all three artists putting out disses, with some receiving more positive responses than others. Got me thinking about what kinds of artists that rappers would really want to avoid dissing for the sake of their career. As we have seen before, an artist's career can live or die based on how they react to the battles that they find themselves in. And for a while, people likely would have said Drake would be the person to avoid. Back-to-Back was so iconic of a diss that it literally changed everyone's perspective on Meek Mill as an artist, repercussions that he's still dealing with to this day. But due to recent events and the Avengers Infinity War level of team-up to defeat the Thanos of hip-hop, I would say that's no longer the case. So who is the scariest rapper to diss in the game? Let's go through the roster since we've already dismissed Drake from top spot. The one person that won't be making this list is J. Cole, unfortunately. As much as I'm a massive Cole fan, for all the talk of being the Muhammad Ali of rap, when he did get challenged by another big name in the game, he turned into J. Fold. His diss wasn't even all that aggressive and likely was as friendly as Kendrick had intended in the first place, so the fact that he felt it necessary to apologize publicly and so suddenly for a light jab felt really disappointing from a fan's perspective. And I don't want to hear about how, oh, it was so good for him to stay out of it because look at how the Drake and Kendrick beef has devolved now. He never stooped to that level in his diss, especially if he didn't feel the need to get personal with Kendrick. Overall, just as a fan, it was really disappointing, especially for a guy that I personally respect a lot. In terms of other names, I'll try to go through a quick list. Kanye is more liable to hit you with a scoopity whoop than an actual constructive diss. I actually think him dissing someone is more destructive to himself than anybody else because he never really seems like good at it. I mean, his diss at Drake on his Like That remix was that nobody knows a Drake line. Need I say more? Now, some people right now would say that Kendrick would be the guy to be most worried about, but I think that's more so just a derivative of the quality of rapper that he is. While I would consider Kendrick the outright best rapper of the modern era or this generation, he has never really been tested in a highly publicized rap beef before the current situation we find him now. Sure, he has a track record for calling out other artists on Like That and his Control verse, but no one lyrically challenged him during the Control situation, so until now, he hasn't really been all that tested. And even with that, Cole apologized before they could ever really go back and forth, so he hasn't really built up that experience of battling someone in a public setting outside of today. The tracks he's put out against Drake have been good, but are they career enders or iconic in any way as so many other diss tracks before? Definitely not to the same degree as others in the past, although still really good efforts. Some would even argue that Drake isn't even a real challenge for Kendrick due to the style of music that Drake creates, but I would argue the opposite actually. Drake is probably the one artist in the modern era that's had so many high-profile beefs, just everyone coming out of the woodwork to throw a light jab at Drake, and he has carried himself quite well in most circumstances, has also recovered really well when things haven't gone his way. If there's someone who's battle-tested, it's Drake, although he has definitely taken an L in the past before, showing definite flaws in his game. I'm curious to see how the rest of the beef with Kendrick plays out, considering it's constantly evolving week by week. I've been trying to make a video about this situation for weeks now, but every single time I sit down to record, something new and crazy happens, so I'm just making this as a blanket statement. The week I'm recording this, it's May 4th, so, you know, take that as you will. If something changes crazily, I'm probably not going to include it in this video. Alright, it's motherfucking May 5th, and this situation has already changed again. Kendrick just dropped Not Like Us last night after I had recorded this video, and my God. All right, just take this entire video with a grain of salt at this point. I'm not changing it. It's already done. Now, the person that most people would likely consider to be the scariest to diss would be the person that Drake flopped against, Pusha T. Now, the story of Adidon was a violation unlike anything before. I've never seen someone diss so bad that they felt the need to start posting the son no one knew they had on social media so they don't look like a deadbeat dad, something that they're still doing to this day. Push will always be the stain on Drake's career and something that fans point to as his biggest failure and strike against his music. And the fact that Drake strays away from reopening this beef showcases the psychological damage and lingering fear caused from their back and forth. The only reason I wouldn't say Push is the scariest artist to diss would be because of, again, the lack of high-profile artists truly testing it, much like Kendrick. He's one for one when deep in it, pause, but that doesn't make him the outright scariest though. Would love to see if Drake does ever find the courage to call him out again though. I'd love to see them go back and forth once again, but I have a feeling that'll likely end up the same as last time, and maybe that's why Drake's staying away from it. Now, it may surprise you who I'm going to pick for the scariest artist to diss. It's someone whose bars are so complex you have to learn a whole different language to actually be able to understand it. I'm talking about Metro Boomin. All jokes aside, I wouldn't be surprised if Metro's next collab album is with Pusha T, considering how much of a Drake hater he is right now. Just seems to be riding the coattails of that, and I mean, it's bringing him a lot of success. You know, he got a #1 record, so you gotta do what works, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, this may be a shocker due to the era of names that I've mentioned, but the person I would actually consider to be the scariest and toughest person to diss in the game right now would be Eminem. And before you comment and tell me how trash Eminem is now and how irrelevant he is and his music is, hear me out for just a quick second. Practically every artist, whether new or old, that has been dissed by Eminem has had that impact felt on their entire career, and he also himself hasn't really felt the wrath of any other artist in the same way. From Ja Rule to Benzino to MGK, M has bodied all of them across several tracks to the point where they have quit music before him, or in MGK's case, had to flee the rap genre due to people's constant reminders that Eminem dissed him. I think the biggest indicator for me is that it's not just the disses themselves being lethal, but the fact that they achieve such high commercial success makes it even harder for these artists to recover. Like, Killshot came out during M's biggest slump in music and easily did 400 million streams on Spotify, effectively ending MGK's career. And even Bump Heads, that got re-released onto streaming platforms fairly recently, started to do the rounds again on social media. And same with the recent diss against Benzino that Eminem had released, even though Benzino hasn't been relevant to rap for what feels like decades now. Nothing worse than having to contend with strong diss tracks, but also dealing with hordes of Eminem fans that will come after you until the end of time, regardless if you respond or not. So for any aspiring artist out there, stay away from dissing the old white man of hip-hop past, or you're gonna get hit with some lyrical miracle shit that you'll never recover from. Who would you say is the scariest artist to diss in the game, either right now or of all time? Better yet, what do you think of the Kendrick and Drake disses? Let me know in the comments below.